Hello and a warm welcome back to the garden. In this video I'm going to show you our transformation of this very small island bed. This is pretty much the last job of our planting part of our makeover, and this is this lovely island bed which is situated in the middle of this lawn. So remember back to before beginning of this year, we did have two lawns. We had the lawn just behind where the camera is and this lawn which we decided to keep. The lawn behind the camera is now gone. We've got planting beds and a nice path leading up to a decking area and pond. And one of the things is when you are coming up to the garden and crossing over that lovely path, your eye is drawn to what is right directly in front of you, and that is this bed. Now we have bought an apple tree to go in place of this Photinia, but before we do that, this needs to be removed. We also have a lot of this Geranium macrorrhizum. So a lot of this was planted, I think maybe last year or the year before. So we have like a perimeter of Geranium macrorrhizum going around the whole of this island bed. But we've decided, because it is quite invasive, we do have other plants in here and it does grow very quickly, and it does kind of grow with underground roots, and those pop up with fresh plants. So what we need to do is we've decided to pretty much ditch most of this geranium. We are going to rehome a lot of it to some of the shadier parts, because this is a lovely geranium in actual fact. It has these lovely white flowers, and then once the seed heads come, they're a lovely shade of pink. So it has got many qualities. It even has very aromatic foliage as well. So it is a garden worthy plant, but this is a good situation. It has a lot of sunlight, and I think a plant like this is wasted in a situation like that, particularly when we have a lot of sun lovers that we can instead introduce into this area. So what we need to do is we need to thin all this out and pretty much get to where the root of this Photinia is. And it's not going to be an easy task, because I'm assuming this has been in probably for decades, and it's going to have roots that go all the way down. So we're going to do our best, and we'll take you through the journey of taking things out, replacing them with the kind of plants we're going to use in this space, and then we'll also get the apple tree planted, and that will be the main focal point as you're coming up through the garden. As you're entering the garden at the front and you're coming through the back, you will see the main focal point, which will be the lovely apple tree. So I've got my gloves on, let's get started. So the first task is moving a lot of this geranium. So as you can see, it grows so many new plants just by the underground roots. So I'm just pulling this out as best I can. So there you go, that's how this geranium grows. It has a long root going down, and then all these roots come off, bearing brand new little plants. And if you do want to propagate this, all you've got to do is pull them off, and that's a baby new plant for you. But a lot of these I'm just going to discard. Now I know that's a really terrible thing to do with plants, but it's not as if we can't make more. We are going to keep some of it, but at the moment I just need to thin it right out, because we do have some lovely plants in here which are getting swallowed up by that. This is the Teucrium, and this is a beautiful spire. Now if you can't grow salvias because of slug issues, this is a really good alternative. This one is not affected by slugs at all, and it has lovely purpley pink flower spikes during the summer months. It is quite a prolific self-seeder, so just bear that in mind when you do plant it, because you will find lots of babies everywhere. But it is such a joy to have. So I'm just pulling this up for now. Because what I really need to do is get access to the Photinia, so that I can then be digging down and pulling that out. Now the way that this geranium grows, even with my best efforts, it won't be the last we've seen of it. the roots will be down there somewhere, and I'm sure even in parts where we don't really want it, it will grow back. So it won't be gone for good. And sometimes you've just got to move some rocks and things just to get to the bits that I need. At the time this was all planted, originally the macrorrhizum is on the other side of the bed, but we did plant recently, maybe 2 years ago, the rest of this front bit with the geranium. And back then the Photinia was a really tall, big massive bush, so we were planting really with shade in mind because the bush was there. So we've got primulars in this bed, and we had foxgloves before now, and since we've cut the big Photinia down in size, it has allowed a lot more sun to come in this area. So we're going to utilise this area with many different plants. And we actually have a lovely geranium here which is not invasive, and this is a geranium which is a pretense kind called Splish Splash, and this is one of Andrew's favourites. And unfortunately it's not done that well this year because it has been overshadowed by all of this other geranium which is just taking over. So that's all of the geranium taken out for the most part. I'm now going to remove these plants just around this shrub, and then I'm going to get the shrub out. So I'm just going to dig these out. I know these are flowering at the moment, or about to flower, but I don't have any alternative. So these are going to go into pots temporarily. Let's do a bit of magic. Now you see it. Now that wasn't as simple as just clicking my fingers. That was a very difficult task, but I've managed to get it out. If you want to wait to the end of the video, we will show you a little bit of a clip of the final moments of pulling that awful root out of the ground. We've pretty much taken this island bed apart. All the plants have had to come out, the soil's come out, the rocks have been moved out in order to get that established shrub out of this border. But now it's clear and we're going to start planting. So I've got the apple tree in the place where it's going to be. So it's going to be a central piece, and then we've got lots of perennial planting to go all around it. So let's get planting. So this whole bed is just going to be fertilised with this grow more, and I'm just going to sprinkle a little bit around on top of the soil, and then that can be worked in as we start to plant. And this is just a fertiliser which gives all the nutrients plants need for roots, for foliage and for flowers. And then let's get this planted. So it's about going to be in the place where it's just been stood. And I'm just going to dig a nice big hole. Like I said, the soil has been literally dug out and put back in again, so nice and fine and very easy to get things planted into. Now this apple tree has been grafted onto quite a very small rootstock, so it's not going to grow very big. This rootstock is the smallest you can get, and if you look at this bit here, you will see that this banding might be able to get a better look through that way. You can see where this has been grafted. So below this part, this stem is the rootstock, and above that is the actual apple tree, which is going to bear the flowers and the fruit next year. So there's no danger of the planting depth in terms of making sure that that graft union is above the ground, because it is so far up the fruit tree, and that's how most fruit trees are grafted. So I'm just going to pop this out, which hopefully will be quite easy. There we go. That's a lovely root system. I'm not going to disturb it too much because it's not outgrown its pot. just going to plant it in the right direction. So I'm planting this at the same depth as it was in that pot. And that's generally the rule of thumb with most things. And then I'm just going to backfill, pushing the compost deep in around the roots. And I just need to stand back and make sure that that is in the right position. I'm looking at it from the front. And I think that's pretty much perfect. So in terms of staking, I'm going to do it like I would normally do any tree, and that is just plunging one of these canes in alongside it, and then just using one of these tree ties, we're going to tie around. So you want to make sure that anything that you do use as a stake is not rubbing against the tree. So if I was just to leave that there now, obviously it's got no support, but it will be rubbing as it moves. But with these tree ties, what you can do is create that lovely cushion in between. So first of all, you put it around, and you put it through the flat hole, and just pull it. You don't want it too tight, but you want it tight enough it's going to actually work. And then just around the back, you place this bit in this other bit now. And that just pulls. Just a nice figure of 8. And it just means that they're not going to get much further than that. And then you can just take some secateurs and just pull off the little end bit. And this will come out in about a year's time anyway, once the roots have developed, and it's not going to get too much rock. And then the all important little topper that stops you from poking your eyes out. So that should be fine. There's enough movement in there, but not too much that it's going to blow the tree over. And this apple tree is actually one called Egremont Russet. So this one says on the label, the most popular russet variety with evenly shaped, good quality light golden brown fruits, distinctive nutty flavour, cream flesh, will store, and it's early flowering. Obviously there's no flowers on this year, but now this is in its place, it's going to get lots and lots of sunshine. It should have lots of flowers and fruit next year. So with that in, let's get on to planting around it. think I've got them in the positions that I want them in. We have this lovely Geranium Nimbus. Now we do have two of these, but I think having both of them in there was just too much. So to break it up, we've got this lovely red geum as well. This is a spectacular one. So when you're walking from the decking and looking down the garden into this bed, this is going to be a real wow factor. And it's a different kind of red to the red of the Penstemon behind. So it's kind of like popping around, and also it brings your eye from the Lichnus Charterdonica, which is over there, and makes that red kind of pop around the garden. So I think it's a good place. So let's get planting. Let's find my trowel and let's start. So in this pot we have Teucrium hircanicum, and there's about 3 plants in here. So these were originally in here before, so I've only placed these temporarily in this pot, so they should come out really easy. There we go, and all that compost can go in as well. So these are lovely spired plants, and these are like a pink kind of colour. So I'm going to place them in like a bit of a triangle inside this bed. This is quite a really good self-seeder, so once you do have this plant, you will find it self-sowing all over the place. That's the first one there. Now next to it we do have the Geranium Splish Splash. Now I did plant it straight back in the border, but I need to move it slightly just so we get the positioning correct. So we're going to go about there, and this has lovely flowers which are creamy white speckled with a nice pale blue, so that's fine there. And if we go around this other side, I'm going to just pop this out for a minute. And this is the delightful Geranium Nimbus. It does need a bit of a tidy up. Now I don't advocate moving plants when they're in flower, but sometimes you just have to. This was growing in the veg bed temporarily while we did the changes, but now is the time that the veg bed's needed, because we need to get our tomatoes in. But not only that, this bed needs to be completed as well. So we'll see how it goes. I did water it beforehand, and I will keep it well watered after as well. Hopefully it won't suffer too much. There, that looks so much better. Now we have had a lot of rain recently, so that's really the best time to be moving plants, when you know there's going to be rain, because then you're not going to put them under too much stress of that baking sun and too much heat. But geraniums are tough as old boots, and if it doesn't transplant very well, we'll just chop it back down to the ground and we'll get fresh foliage, and on this one we'll also get fresh flowers. So let's get back in the ground. I love hardy geraniums because they're just such brilliant plants. They're very, very versatile, but also they mingle really, really well with the neighbours. They're quite sociable, if you like, because they do stretch out their flowering stems, and they do have really good associations with the plants around them. So this will mingle all the way around. It'll mingle through the Teucrium and also mingle through with the geum as well, which is wonderful. I'll just pop the label. In there. I'm going to see how it goes. Hopefully it will still continue to flower. And then in comes this geum. So this geum is an unknown variety. It's a lovely red one, lovely tall red one. And basically it's been growing in this pot for quite a while, since last year. So I'm hoping if I kind of grab the stems, just take that little thing out, I should be able to get the whole plant out of this pot. It's not that easy, is it? Let's try loosening the sides. Let's try a different way. Let's try putting it on the tray and try this way instead. There we go. Out it pops. So I'm not going to need this Acorus grass. So I'm going to try and chop around that. And then what we've got left is a massive clump of these beautiful geums. So they can go in pretty much undisturbed. Let's see if that'll work. By the time I put the saw back in, that should be at the right level. That just looks beautiful. Very happy with that combination. So next I've got these lovely Pennisetums. So this one's called Hameln. And they're just going to go just together to break up some of this planting with grass. The other one's going to go here. And these will have lovely flowers towards the end of summer. Then we've done a bit of a slight switch around. I did have the Penstemon here, but it's directly opposite where the other one is, so I've decided to move the Diascia and put that on this corner instead. This one is called Emma, and we've had it for a few years. It grows quite wide and very mingly, a bit like the geraniums are, but it does flower for such a long time, and it's one of those ones that I really enjoy. So I'm going to get that in there. It's quite a big plant this, so I might need to get the spade. Next I wanted to add in a beautiful Eryngium, and this one is Colbolt Star, and this was originally growing in the narrow border, which is now being the main perennial bed. So they didn't particularly transplant that well initially when I dug them up, but they have started to regrow a little bit. I mean, the root itself is, that's it. So I'm going to give them a chance and pop them in here. And then last but not least is the beautiful Penstemon Garnet. And there should be 3 of these in here. Once I take them back out. So these are just going to go in here. And as you can see, this is quite a very tightly packed bed. But that's how we like to grow our perennials. So as I've gone round, I've realised that unfortunately Splish Splash is going to be having to be rehomed, because that is the exact same spot I need for that final Penstemon. And that does need to be in a threesome for maximum impact. And that is the border planted. So we have a nice mixture of plants. We have the Penstemons, the Teucrium, the Geranium, the Geum, the Pennisetum, the Diascia, and also the lovely Eryngium. So nice shades of red, pink, kind of like a purpley kind of colour, then red, then a bit more of a pinky red, and then a beautiful blue. So a nice arrangement of colour, bringing lots and lots of interest to this middle bed. And again, as you come through the garden, this is what you're going to see straight away down your eye line. This border is going to be the main thing. So this has to be quite floriferous and as attractive as we can make it. So all I need to do now is get it watered. I'm going to try and top up any soil that I can fit around, because we do have some soil left on the tray. Get it watered, and then I'm assuming we're going to get some rain at some point, but I'll just give it a water first, and then the rain can do the rest. So I do hope you've enjoyed this little transformation. These type of borders are probably not seen that much these days, island beds. They used to be a very common sight during my childhood particularly, but a lot of the time now island beds are going and you're having that nice straightforward lawn space without anything interrupting it, and then your borders along the edges. But I do think they do have value, and we didn't want to get rid of this particular island bed because it is such a valuable space, and it's particularly for us. We've got enough lawn. What we really enjoy is flowers, so having this now flower filled, that lovely billowing effect, getting rid of that original shrub, has probably been the best thing we've done. So thank you so much again for watching. Hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. If you do have any comments, please drop them in the box below. I will put a plant list down below in the description so you can have a look at the plants that are in this bed. And this is pretty much the final part of the garden makeover. So we've done the borders, we've done the pond, we now have the decking down, and this is now the final piece. So there is some other jiggly bits that we need to do, some painting, some maintenance type tasks. There is like edge to the border along the side of the neighbours, where we might just use the edging that we've got to make sure the soil doesn't billow over the side of the path. And there is a lot of painting to do still, and just nice things, just the nice easy things to do now. The planting pretty much is done. We do need to look at some of the pots and make the best of the pots, because we do want a few pots on the decking, so perhaps that's where little geranium splash might end up going, I'm not sure. But yeah, thank you so much for watching again, and we will see you very soon on the next one. In the meantime, please do take care, enjoy your gardening, and we will see you soon.